welcome back. I'm Amy Schrader with Remax Real Estate 10.
And I'm Kim Swan with Union Home Mortgage.
And this is the Morristown Market Report. Sorry, I'm tongue-tied today. So we were supposed to have a guest today, and I've been making phone calls trying to find out where they're at. Come to find out they're in court this afternoon. So we'll let you know who that was when they are actually able to be with us. But so Kim and I are flying solo, and we are going to talk a little bit about something that we referenced last week as we were closing out the show, and that's the fact that mortgage insurance premiums on FHA loans are due to be reduced on March 20th of this month. Is that right?
That's correct, and we're actually going ahead and quoting it now. As long as they don't close by till the 20th, and we can give them that lower MI.
All right, so can you give us some specifics, like what is it now, what's it going to be?
Well, the percentage right now is like 0.85%, and it's going to 0.55%. So, for example, if you were looking at a $200,000 home, it'll save you about $50 a month. So, it's pretty good savings.
Okay. All right, because what I had heard, of course, we have lower average home prices here than they do across the country. Because what I'd heard is it would be like an average savings of around $800 for most people. So that would be based on probably $250 to $300.
Yeah, I was going to say a little higher than 200 because I think if it was 200, I think it was going to be about 600 a year. It's roughly what it would be for a 200,000 sales price savings for the year. So.
Okay. So can you explain, like, what is mortgage insurance premium? What is that? Why do they have it?
Okay. Basically, it allows people to purchase a home without putting 20% down. So, FHA has an upfront premium that's financed in with the loan, and then they have the monthly premium. And like I said, it's being reduced, so that's savings. And again, it allows them to purchase. A lot of people think, hey, I've got to have 20% before I can buy a house. Absolutely not. And you can take the FHA product, tie it with the THDA if you live in Tennessee for first-time home buyers, and actually get into a house with no money out of pocket. So no down payment.
Okay. So does this mortgage insurance premium drop off when they reach a certain percentage, or do they have to refinance?
With FHA, if you don't put at least 10% down, it does stay on there for the life of the loan, which means you would have to refinance. If you put at least 10% down, it drops off after 11 years. Now, conventional loans have mortgage insurance as well. And it's the percentage of it is based on your credit score and things like that. But with that, it stays on there for a minimum of 2 years, and you have to pay the loan down to below 80% of the value. Now, granted, if you think about a 30-year mortgage, and you just make minimum payments in 2 years, you're not going to be at that 80% mark. So you're going to pay it a lot longer than 2 years. So.
But for people who bought like in 2015, 16, even 17 or 18, based on how we've seen home prices increase, if they put 5 or 10% down, they might be able to get it waived.
Exactly. And they may require an appraisal to be done, but it would the cost of the appraisal would well offset the cost of the mortgage insurance that you're paying.
Okay. So it's been a while since I did mortgages, as you well know, because I've been doing this. It showed up in my Facebook memories today that I started in real estate 11 years ago today.
Wow. Congratulations.
Not selling real estate, but working in a real estate office. So,
congratulations.
Is mortgage insurance premium still a tax deduction?
I think only maybe if you can itemize. We're always advised that we can't give tax advice.
I get it. We are too.
And since they raised the standard deduction a couple years ago, and especially people maybe that was fortunate to get in on a mortgage a couple years ago, and you have a 2 and 3% interest rate, you're not, unless you have a lot of medical bills, you're not going to be able to itemize. But we always refer that back to the CPA to answer that question for certain.
I got you. Just trying to trip you up there a little bit.
Good job.
All right. So the official statement from the White House on this lowering of the mortgage insurance premium was that home ownership is currently the principal source of wealth creation for most American households, the White House said in the statement. But due to a nationwide shortfall in the supply of affordable homes and shifting demand for housing during the pandemic, first-time home buyers have struggled in recent years to achieve home ownership. And, we kind of said this last week too, that like, okay, I get $600 a year helps, but like, if interest rates are at 6.5%, that's what is hindering home ownership.
Oh, exactly.
You know? We got to
Well,
get the
I'm
interest
sure-
rate back down.
Yeah, you probably have people that may think, hey, I would like to, upgrade in my home, but I'm sitting here at a 3% interest rate. So why do I want to sell this home, get a bigger home, more expensive home, and pay over a 6% on the rate? I mean, that would be, I'm sure a lot of people have that thought right now.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely is a concern. A lot of people, I mean, in our area, we are so like not like the national average. You know what I'm saying? Because they'll say people move, they sell their home like every 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
How many people do you know have lived in the same house for 30 years
I know several.
or more?
Mm-hmm.
My mom and dad still live in the same house they bought when they were pregnant with me in 1970.
Mine does too.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, those type of people, to them, that 6% interest rate or 7% interest rate, well, that's not that bad.
No, that's what I was going to say too. Yeah, we think it's high, and it is compared to what it was, but I'm sure I'm a few years older than you, and I think my first home I bought was like 9%, and it was a 7-year balloon, which means my rate was just fixed for 7 years, and then after that it would have fluctuated. Of course, I sold that home before that, but it would have fluctuated. So again, 6 is still better than 9.
Yeah, it's all in perspective. And the argument on your, like what we're talking about is, well, the cost of homes back then wasn't what it is now.
Exactly.
I mean, my parents bought a brand new construction home with a full basement, unfinished, with a carport for like $18,000.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's just like, you can't even pour a foundation today for $18,000. You
No,
know,
not at all.
but yeah, I mean, that definitely is a concern with a lot of sellers. Is, you know, I don't know that I'm coming out better. You know, their payment's going to be more than what it is on the house that they're already in. So usually the people right now who are looking to sell are trying to downsize. They're the empty nesters,
Right.
or they're moving here full time from somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? So like they're trying to sell the vacation home they had to buy that retirement home here.
But I guess a question too, even though we say rates are more, and this is kind of an Amy question, values are still good, correct? I mean,
yeah, I mean that's another thing. Like nationwide, they're saying that prices are kind of decreasing around 5% or so.
mm-hmm.
I mean prices here are still holding pretty steady. I don't know that we're going to see a big decrease in the price. I don't think we're going to see an acceleration of prices. I think that's just going to be kind of flat, but you know, like we were talking about, people who bought 2018, 2019, they've got a lot more equity today
Right.
than they did just because of the home price appreciation. So we are seeing price decreases in our market. And I think a large part of that is because they're wanting to price it like it was December of 2021. And, you know, we were right in the middle of everything. It was a frenzy. And you could just put a price on something and it would sell. And we're just not there anymore. And you've got a lot of agents who have just come into the business in the past 2 to 3 years, and they don't really know how to do a CMA. They don't know how to justify a list price to a seller. So they're like, oh, you want this much? Okay, sure, we'll do that. And they put that price on there, and it's just sitting on the market. So you have to be able to be realistic with the seller when you're talking to them about what the price is. So, all right, so that's all we're going to talk about on these mortgage insurance premiums. The other thing we're going to talk about today is that Fannie Mae just updated its selling guide today to include more options for property valuations, saying that they are moving away from implying that an appraisal is a default requirement. So what they're going to do, you know, we've heard of appraisal waivers. They call it a value acceptance, and then also a value acceptance plus property data and hybrid appraisals. Have you heard of anything, or do you kind of know what they're talking about there?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we all battled anyone that sold, bought, lenders, realtors. A few years ago, we battled with, you know, when the appraisers were so busy and not a lack of having a lot of appraisers around here that it was taking weeks to get an appraisal inspection, you know, and so I knew this was coming, that, you know, that they were going to try and do some ways to offset that. So, obviously with all of these loan programs, you know, it's an automated pre-approval system, so I'm sure it's all going to be based on when that address goes in there, and it's going to view the credit score, the down payment. It's going to look at all those things and let you know, come back, hey, you can get a a waiver or, like you said, possibly a drive-by, things like that.
Mhm.
That's what they're looking for. Yeah.
Drive-by, we're not talking about a shooting.
Yeah.
That was a very familiar term when I first got into real estate because you had so many foreclosures, and they would ask these mortgage companies that were doing the foreclosure would call and ask a realtor to do a drive-by appraisal, and you're just basically driving by the property and trying to take pictures without looking,
about
sketchy.
It turning into a drive-by.
Yeah, without somebody pulling a gun out on you or something. But anyway, so this article says that is supposed to be updated by April the 15th. So they will update Desktop Underwriter. So what's kind of a hybrid appraisal? Do you know?
No, unless it's just going to be similar to what we just talked about. When we talk hybrid, just like you said, exterior only or something like that. So would be my thought, but I don't know the exact meaning of what Fanny's saying.
Okay. All right. Well, that's definitely interesting. Wish they would have done this like 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah. Would have helped us all.
Would have helped everybody. The appraisers included, because I think the appraisers at this point are just absolutely wore out.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because they were working 18, 19 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I don't blame them for jacking up their price.
No.
But anyway, so, all right. So, talking about mortgage rates, where are we at?
Still a little on the high side. I looked at the FHAs today. 30-year fixed rate FHA is about 6.5, and conventional is about 6.6. Conventional Fannie is also making some. They might give us a little waiver on these appraisals, but they're making some what they call lender paid price adjustments, where depending on credit scores, and now they're really going to start tackling down on debt to income ratio, and there's going to be a price adjustment, price hit, charging you more if your debt to income ratio exceeds a certain amount. And I think that's supposed to start maybe with loans that they purchase like in April too. So if you do have somebody that has a little bit higher debt to income ratio, now would be the time to get them in before this price adjustment comes along, so we don't have to pay that. So.
All right. Now I'm going to spring this one on you because we hadn't talked about this beforehand, but I just remembered it. So I saw a post on Facebook today that THDA has lowered their interest rate. Is that correct?
They have lowered it. I think I got it today, 5.875 for their programs, and they now have started March the 1st a program where I guess it's kind of like if you're considered like a safety worker, for police officers, EMT workers, things like that you're going to get like a 0.5% off the rate. Now they've done that for years for veterans, so now they're also reaching out and doing it for
others. So like first responder type people,
yes.
Firefighters, policemen. Okay.
So if they're going,
so that's a half off of the 5.875.
Yes, ma'am. So it'd be 5.375. So pretty good. Pretty good when you talk about FHA rates being 6.5. So.
So if they couple FHA with THDA, what rate do they get?
The THDA rate.
Okay. So can you recap for everybody what is a THDA loan? What's your big qualifiers for that? Because that's going to be a big thing. I mean, if they're 5.875.
Definitely. Well, THDA, it stands for Tennessee Housing Development Agency. It is classified as a first-time homebuyer loan. If you haven't owned a home in the last 3 years, you would be reclassified as a first-time homebuyer. And there's certain counties where they're called targeted counties, and the first-time homebuyer rule does not apply. For example, if you wanted to purchase in Jefferson, Cobb County, Granger County, that's 3 in our area, that are targeted counties. So let's say that you had a home and you sold it in Hamlin County last week. You could turn around and buy a house in Jefferson County and qualify for the THDA program. Now, a change they made, time flies, over a year ago, I guess, or maybe longer. Of course, the THDA loan they did refer it to household income limits. So that means if you were purchasing a home with, say, your mom and dad were going to live there, everyone who lived in the home's income had to be considered in that household limit. And that could make some people go over the limits.
Right.
It's now been changed to, about a year or so ago or longer, now it's changed to the borrower's income. So if you're purchasing a home and you qualify just on your income, your debts, then we just have to count your income in that limit amount. So obviously it opens up some room, for people that, if a husband qualifies without his wife and she works or vice versa, then we can possibly take them THDA, whereas before their income may have been too much to qualify.
I remember from when I did mortgages that, you would have maybe a single mom and the child was on some kind of disability, and the child's disability had to be counted, and that threw him out of the debt. And I was like, that is so wrong on so many different levels, you know?
I had a USDA loan that the person had received like $12 on interest income off of a savings account. And that $12 threw them over the USDA income limit, and USDA will not approve it. So, yeah.
The craziness of government loans. You gotta love it.
Yes.
But I remember when I bought my first house, I went through THDA,
Okay.
and that's been many moons ago. So I was a single mom. Amber was little, and I think they counted my daycare as like an expense in my debt to income ratio. So they're like, okay, well, how much do you draw on child support? And I was like, I don't get child support. They wanted me to prove I don't get child support. How do you prove you don't get something?
Yeah.
That's like Amazon saying, prove that your package didn't get delivered. I'm standing out on the front porch. There's nothing here. You know, like, how do you prove that? And it was just, and do you know what they ended up accepting?
What?
A signed statement from me saying, I don't receive child support. Anyway.
Like you said, government.
It's the government for you. Yeah. So, anyway. All right. So, we will be back next Wednesday. Hopefully, our guest will no longer be in court and we can have a guest here. If you have a small business that you would like to see featured, please leave a comment or send me a DM. We'll be back next week. I'm Amy Schrader with Remax Real Estate 10.
And I'm Kim Swan with Union Home Mortgage.